When you're staring at a dockside catalog or scrolling through endless online listings for a new marine chart plotter, the biggest question is always the same: will this actually make my time on the water better, or am I just adding another expensive gadget I'll barely touch? I've been in that spot more than a few times, and today I want to walk through the Garmin 0100209151 GPSMAP 8610xsv the way I would if I were deciding whether to spend a solid chunk of my boat budget on it. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Think of this as a down-to-earth look at how the unit fits into everyday boating, where it shines, and where it might leave you wishing for something else. First off, the GPSMAP 8610xsv is marketed as a 10-inch all-in-one mapping and sonar solution. That's a lot of functionality packed into a screen that's big enough to read detailed charts but small enough to stay readable in bright sunlight. The HD IPS Touchscreen is the first thing you'll notice, and it really does matter when you're trying to plot a route while the sun is bouncing off the water. The colors stay vivid, and the touch response is quick enough that you don't feel like you're wrestling with a clunky interface. In practice, that means you can tap a waypoint, zoom in on a shallow shoal, and then swipe to a different chart without the lag you sometimes get on older units. Installation is another place where the experience can make or break a purchase. Garmin has simplified the mounting options. The bracket bolts on securely, and the unit sits flat against the helm with a minimal profile. I've seen a lot of owners struggle with bulky mounts that block visibility or create a wobble when the boat hits a wave. With the 8610xsv, the mounting system feels sturdy yet unobtrusive, so you keep your line of sight on the water while still having the screen at a comfortable angle. If you're retrofitting an older boat, that ease of fit can save you a day of trial-and-error and a few extra dollars on custom brackets. Now, the real differentiator for many anglers and cruisers is the sonar capability. The unit supports both traditional and scanning sonar, and it also offers live sonar support. In a practical scenario, say you're trolling for bass in a lake with varying depths, the live sonar feed updates instantly as the transducer moves, giving you a real-time picture of what's below. The scanning mode, on the other hand, builds a broader view of the underwater terrain, which is handy when you're exploring a new inlet and want to spot drop-offs before you commit to a course. Users have reported that the transition between these modes is seamless, letting you switch from a quick depth check to a detailed scan without having to dive into menus. The Grid 20 remote control is another piece that often gets overlooked until you need it. It's essentially a handheld shortcut that lets you control the most common functions: zoom, pan, and map layer toggles without reaching for the main screen. In a real-world test, I was navigating a narrow channel while my hands were busy adjusting the throttle. The remote slipped into my glove compartment, and with a quick press I could scroll the chart ahead, keeping me aware of any upcoming shoals. For anyone who values keeping the main touchscreen free for detailed work while still having quick access to basic navigation, the Grid 20 is a thoughtful addition. So who should actually consider the 8610xsv? If you're an active angler who relies on precise depth readings and wants to explore new waters without constantly pulling out a separate depth finder, the integrated sonar and live updates are a big win. The same goes for coastal cruisers who need reliable charting on a screen that won't wash out in bright conditions. The unit's mounting simplicity also makes it attractive for those who are upgrading an older vessel and don't want to spend a weekend wrestling with custom hardware. In short, if you spend a decent amount of time on the water and need both navigation and sonar in one package, this model lines up well with those needs. On the flip side, there are scenarios where the 8610xsv might feel like overkill. If you're a casual boater who only heads out on calm, familiar lakes a few times a month, you might not extract enough value from the high-resolution sonar or the 10-inch display to justify the price tag. Likewise, if you already own a dedicated high-end depth finder and are happy with a separate chart plotter, you could end up paying twice for features you're not using. The unit also leans on Garmin's ecosystem, so if you're not already using their mapping subscriptions or don't plan to, you might miss out on some of the richer data layers that come with the Navionics Plus integration. A practical weakness that's worth mentioning is the learning curve around the more advanced sonar settings. While basic depth reads are straightforward, dialing in the optimal settings for different water conditions like adjusting gain, range, or switching between traditional and scanning requires a bit